All right, so welcome to the first lesson back after this long break. Okay, I decided to kind of clean up with what we've got with quadratics. There's a couple questions, like when I said to review some stuff, there was a couple questions about the quadratics. So we'll go back and finish up what we have to finish up with quadratics, and then we'll move on to some new stuff. So let's take a look at what's called expanding, right? So the goal with expanding is we're going to produce a new polynomial of some sort, typically trinomials, when we're working with quadratics. And we do that by multiplying two other polynomials together, right? So that's the learning goal for this lesson, okay? And the success criteria is going to be you choosing one of three methods that I'll show you in order to actually accomplish this, okay? And then there'll be some practice questions for you guys to work on, and then I'll be available for some help, okay? So let's just take a look at what it is what it means to expand. So expansion is the process in which we take two polynomials, right? And you remember polynomials. A polynomial is just something with multiple terms in it. So it's 3x plus, or we could even say it could be any number of terms, right? And remember, a term was actually a number attached to a variable, right? So we could have any number of that could be a polynomial with 4 terms in it, right? Where you could totally have 2x plus 1. That is also a polynomial because it has multiple terms. It has 2 terms, right? So it's poly because many, right? And then we can subdivide the prefix poly into binomials or trinomials. This here, if we got rid of the 3x cubed, that would be a trinomial, right? So expansion is this process by which we take polynomials, so many equations with many terms in them, or algebraic expressions, and we multiply them together to create one new polynomial. Okay, it's a little bit wordy. It'll make more sense when we do some actual problems, but so then one key point here is when dealing with quadratics, we typically end up with trinomials. Typically, right? So things with 3 terms in them, okay? So on the homework sheet, there are some questions. I just like to go back and clean up some quadratic stuff as we move through the next few lessons here, and we'll make sure everybody's okay with everything quadratics related. So simplifying polynomials is simply just saying collecting like terms. So I see here we did this in the first quadratics, but I could rewrite the statement, have group all the x's together and group all the y's together. So I could simply rewrite this one as being 3x minus x, and then I also have some y's here too. Okay, and then so I'm going to go plus 2y plus 6y. And now I have my like terms together, right? So I have the x's with the x's and the y's with the y's. And now I can add them together. And my final answer is going to be, well, 3 minus, remember the coefficient here, this is a little bit tricky sometimes, is a 1. So 3 minus 1 is going to be 2, and we're dealing with the x's here, so it becomes 2x. And then 2y plus 6y is going to be plus 8y, right? So there's your answer for collecting like terms. And this will be a little bit useful when we come down to the expansion as well. You'll see, okay? Now, these ones here in part B, or question B here, they could be a little bit tricky. Now, I like to think of, okay, my first step when seeing something like this is to get rid of the brackets. Okay, once I do that, I'll get something that looks like A, and then I can rearrange and just do the same process. But the first step should be get rid of the brackets, right? And so we're going to do that by simply taking whatever the number is out front, right? So in this whatever the number is out front, you got to pretend number 1 there. And I got the -2 here, and I have a -1 here. Okay. I'm going to take the number that's out front of each of those, and I'm going to what we call distribute into the bracket. And that just simply means everything that's on the inside of the bracket gets multiplied by what's on the outside, right? So for this one, this is how you get rid of brackets, is to do this distribution, right? Well, I'll put that distribute. Okay. So your next line here, you just get to say, okay, you're going to follow these, what I call like rainbows. This would be one of our methods down in the bottom, one of our 3. So you get to say 1 times 3x. That's from this multiplied against that. 1 times 3x is going to be 3x. Right? You're just going to get one long line here of terms, and then you can rewrite those terms based on similarity, and then collect them, and then get a final answer. That'll be it. So I'm going to go 3x, and then 1, I'm going to take the 1 and multiply it by the 3 as well. So that's going to be plus 3. And now I don't have any more brackets, right? So that's nice. Now the next one, I'm looking here now, this clump before the next addition or subtraction, is I have -2, and I'm going to put the -2 into both things inside the bracket. So I'm going to -2 multiplied by 2x. Well, that's going to equal -4x. Okay, because -2 times 2 is 4, but then there's an x, or -4, and then there's an x on there as well, so it's -4x. That's this. Then I'm going to go -2 multiplied by +5. Well, that's -10. And now the brackets are gone with that. And then I go down here and I do the same thing with the -1, right? The whole goal of this is to get rid of the brackets so that it's starting to look like this guy here, right? That's the whole point. So -1, I'm just going to do the same thing now. -1 multiplied by -x is going to be +1x, right? Because a negative times a negative times a negative is a positive, right? And then I go -1 multiplied by +4. That's going to be -4. Okay. And now I can just take everything. I can just do the same thing as in part A. I'm going to take all the things that are like, and I'm going to write them beside each other. Right? I'm going to rewrite this line just with the similar terms clumped. Okay, so my next line here is going to be 3x minus 4x plus 1x, right? And then I'm going to start here at the 3. I'm going to get plus 3 minus 10 minus 4. Okay, those are all the red terms. You see how like all I've done here is take the red terms and group them together, and I took the blue terms and I grouped them together, right? And now I can do the math on the blue and red separately. So I'm simply just going to go, okay, well, 3 minus 4 is going to be -1 plus 1. Well, that's nice. It's 0x, right? And then I go over to the red portion, and I go 3 minus 10 is going to be -7 from these guys. And then I have to minus 4. Well, that's going to be -11 from the red, right? So my final answer for this one is actually just -11. There's no variables in that one. So that's nice. And that came out of the blue section actually coming out to be 0. Okay. So that's kind of an intro to, it's a prerequisite skill, I would say, to be able to expand, is you got to be able to collect the like terms, right? And sometimes we have brackets and you need to get rid of those brackets in order to be able to answer any questions about simplifying. Okay, so let's go down here. I'm going to show you 3 methods, okay, to do this question, and they will all give you the same answer, and you get to pick which one you like. Okay, So let's just take a look at the first one. Okay, the first one is what I call, or not what I call, but what people call. I'm going to do each of these in different colors. It's actually what we call FOIL. I'll do it in one color. Okay, so F stands for firsts, O stands for outers, I stands for inners, and L stands for lasts. Okay, so basically, here are your firsts. Okay, the firsts of the binomials, and then here are your outers. Okay, and then you have your inners, right? And finally you have your lasts. Okay, and what you're going to do is each one of these you're going to multiply. So you're going to multiply the firsts together, you're going to multiply the outers together, you're going to multiply the inners together, and you're going to multiply the lasts together. Okay, so that just simply means I'm going to go like this here. The firsts we said were 7x, 5x, okay? And then the outers I said were -2. Sorry. The outers were 7x and 1, right? The outers. And then the inners I said were -2 and 5x. And the lasts I said were -2 and 1. And all you're going to do here now is actually just type these into your calculator and multiply them, or just do them in your head, right? So for this one, 7x times 5x is going to be 35x squared. 7x times 1 is going to be 7x. -2 times 5x is going to be -10x. -2 times 1 is -2. Now you can see right here in the middle, this is why we went over what we did in the first part here. There's your like terms. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is take these. Right, I'm going to take these four things, and I'm going to rewrite them into one line underneath of here. So I'm going to go 35x squared plus 7x minus 10 minus 2. Okay? And from here, I get to collect like terms on the first two, or on the middle two. So 7x minus 10x is actually going to be -3x. And then you just fill in the rest. 35x squared minus 2. And that's your final answer. Right. That's method 1. And look, this is what we call a trinomial. This is what we said from the beginning. Right? It's got 3 terms. 1, 2, 3. So it's a trinomial. Okay? Now, your second method is what I like to call, and actually, you know what, I could probably fit this down here. I'm going to save this space. Second method is what I call the rainbow. And it's very, very similar to the FOIL method. Okay, so all I'm going to do here, I'm going to rewrite the question. I'm going to give myself a little space. The title. 7x minus 2, and I'm going to multiply that against 5x plus 1. Okay, and the rainbow method is actually what you've seen this already. 7x goes to the 5x, but the 7x also needs to go to the 1. Okay, so in the blue, we'll do the top half, and then the bottom. We'll do the same thing on the bottom in green. So -2 multiplied by 5x, and -2 multiplied by 1. Okay, and then from here, you're just going to actually do the math for each of these rainbows, what we call them, right? So we'll do the blue first. The blue will be 7x times 5x will be 35x squared. 7x multiplied by 1 will be 7x, positive 7x. Okay, so that takes care of the blue, the two things from the blue, and then we'll do the green. Negative 2 multiplied by 5x is going to be negative 10x, and negative 2 multiplied by 1 is going to be negative 2. Okay, and now, I know it's a little bit disorientating with the colors, but we end up in the same position as we did up here with arguably less work, if not the same. Okay, it's just you get to choose between which method you like. Okay, and so my final answer here, and you should see, if I collect those like terms in the middle, I should get 35x squared minus 3x minus 2. That matches with that, so then I know I'm right? Now, I have one more method to show you. Okay, I'm going to move this down. I'm going to save my space. Okay, one more method. 3. This is what we call the table method. Okay, and again, I should expect to get the same answer. Okay, so with the table method, here's how this works. You basically just get to draw a table, right? And then you're going to fill the inside of the table out, okay? So the way this works, and this doesn't matter what order you do this in, but you can go 7x and negative 2, and then you can go 5x and 1. Now you could choose to put the 5x here. If I chose to flip this around, it wouldn't matter. I'll do that here just for argument's sake. Okay, you could put the 5x here plus 1. And you can do 7x minus 2. It does not matter. Okay, and then all you're going to do is fill in each of these boxes. Okay, and the way we fill in these boxes is to multiply what the cross sections are. So so in this box I see that I'm going to have 7x multiplied by 5x, and so the answer to that is 35x squared. Okay, and then I just keep going. I fill in the boxes with the cross sections, right? So 7x multiplied by 1 is going to be 7x, okay? And then 5x multiplied by 2, right, is going to be negative 10x. And then negative 2 multiplied by 1 should be negative 2. And you can see there are your 4 terms from right here and right here. So you simply just get to go, okay, well, I see my 2 like terms here, 7x and negative 10x. You're going to add those together. So your next step is 35x squared plus 7x minus 10x minus 2. And then you can collect these 2 in the middle. Okay, 35x squared minus 3x minus 2. Okay, and that's it. Like, that's all we're gonna do. I'll do a couple more questions here quickly for you. But you get to choose which of these 3 methods you kind of like, right? And they all work as take different forms sometimes. So for part B here, let's take a look at B. I'll just do the rainbow because I think it goes the quickest. And if you guys have any questions at all, just let me know. And I'll be happy to do a video on any of these questions with any of the methods. So just quickly, so you guys have some answers, I'll use the rainbow, but you can use FOIL and you can use table. Okay, so I'm just going to go 2x times 3x. All right, so 2x times 3x is 6x squared. 2x multiplied by 5, negative 5, sorry, is going to be negative 10x. 4 times 3x is going to be positive 12x. And then 4 multiplied by negative 5 is going to be negative 20. Okay, and then I can collect the 2 in the middle. 6x squared plus 2x minus 20 is my final answer. You can confirm that using whatever method you'd like. Okay. So I'll do the next one now. Now the next one's a little bit trickier because I see here, this doesn't look like a binomial like this one does. It's a trinomial. And this is maybe where some of the table, I'll set the table up for you if you want to use the table method here, but your table is going to look something like this time instead. Now I'll continue to use the rainbow method here because I think it's a little bit faster, but you could set up a table that looks a lot like this, okay, where you have x squared, negative x, and positive 1. You could go x minus 1, okay, and you just fill in the middles with the multiplication and then collect the like terms, right? What I'll do here is I'll do, okay, x times x squared is going to be x cubed. And then I'm going to go x multiplied by negative x. Well, that's going to be negative x squared. But now I still have to multiply by the one on the end. Okay, so that's plus an x. Right, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the same thing, but I haven't touched the negative 1 yet. So I got to do this whole thing again with the negative 1. So negative 1 times x squared is going to be negative x squared. Negative 1 multiplied by negative x, positive x. Careful, because this is a negative, and that's a negative. Right? And then negative 1 multiplied by positive 1 is negative 1. Now, we get to this stage. This looks a little bit busy, so I'm going to highlight similar terms, and I'm going to rewrite it so that I can collect them. So x cubed minus x squared plus an x minus 1. Okay, and then my final answer is by collecting the like terms. Right? So x cubed, negative x squared minus an x squared should be negative 2x squared. Plus x should be plus 2x minus 1. That should be your answer. Okay. Now, again, if you have any questions, just shoot me a message and I'll do a video with whatever questions you're struggling with, okay, whatever method. So, let's take a look here at this last one. This one's a little bit tricky, okay? And I wouldn't worry about it for the time being. I will set it up for you. You guys can try it, and then we could take it up later, okay? Let's take a look at the fact of what this thing actually means. So this is an exponent, and if I wrote something like this, you should be able to say that that is the same thing as this. It's also equal to this, right? 3 x's multiplied together with an exponent of 1, right? Okay, so if I take this idea, right, and I apply it to this situation, then I could rewrite this. Okay, and the key with this question is here, let's ignore one of these for a sec. Ignore it. Treat it like a binomial times a binomial, and then once you get an answer from that, then you can multiply the blue one back into it. Okay, so I'll do the first one, and then you guys can take care of the blue piece back in at the end. Okay, so I'll do it here. X times x should be x squared. X times negative 3, negative 3x, and then do the bottom. Negative 3 times x should be negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 3 should be positive 9, right? Now, don't forget about the blue section, right? So this is still going to be in brackets, and then I'm going to multiply this by x minus 3. Okay, so then I'm going to clean up the two middle pieces. Okay, and then I may as well just finish it off at this point. You're going to take each of these terms, right? This is just the exact same thing as this question here, C. Right? Just with an extra step, right? So now I'm going to take x squared, multiply it by x, and I need to multiply it by negative 3 as well. So my next line here is going to be x cubed minus 3x squared, and then I got to do the negative 6x times x and negative 6x times negative 3. That's going to be negative 6x squared plus 18x, because negative 6 multiplied by negative 3 is positive 18, and then there's the x on it, okay? And then the last one you got to do is the 9 times x and the 9 times negative 3. You can kind of see how this is why this is called the rainbow. So plus 9x and then minus 18, okay? And then you just go through the process of collecting all the like terms, right? So I see x squareds, okay, and then I also see the x's, okay? So you collect them, and then the question's over. So x cubed minus 9x squared, right? That's from those guys. And then 18x plus 9x is be plus 27x, and then minus 18, okay? So there's how I got everything, okay? And that's it. So there's some homework questions here. And I will be available for any help that is